everybody, Stick here. I am out on the Street Cup in search for fuel. Before I started out today, I came out and opened the fuel cap to see if there was any fuel in here. It looked like it was relatively full but could take a little more fuel. But now that I'm on my way, I see that my fuel level is indicating that I have a full tank. I'm gonna go and see what the fuel situation is for two reasons. One, I think this could take a little bit more in it, and I have a jerry can in my backpack. Also, I need to check the air pressure and fill up the tires with some air, as I have a pretty long ride ahead of me tomorrow. I want to bring this jerry can of fuel as a backup, and I want to do a little bit of a test run on the bike that's been sitting for a while. I'm also curious to see what the fuel situation around West London is today. I'm on a couple of these neighborhood apps, which is usually just people posting stuff that's for free that they don't need anymore, or someone looking for a plumber or a reliable roofer or something, or someone to cut their hedges. But all of the chatter has been about petrol stations. Every single post over the past 8 days has been about where to find fuel. And I thought that perhaps the chatter would change if things or as things improved, but it seems to me that there's still the same old chatter about where to find fuel. So I'm going out to see for myself what the situation is. Since this fuel situation, I'm trying to think of how to efficiently run the bike. Get up to top gear quick, don't accelerate too fast or too aggressively. This ride that I'm doing tomorrow is going to start in the wee hours of the morning, so I've dug out my heated gear, but I'm thinking that the heated gear is going to affect the gas mileage as it did on the Scotland trip 2 Novembers ago. I have a little range estimator depending on how I'm using the throttle, but even in a high top gear, not being too aggressive on the throttle knob, it says optimistically I get 139 miles. I have to go 400 miles tomorrow on this bike. I used to think the fuel capacity on this bike was only about 8 liters, but looking at the specs in the owner's manual this morning, it says it's 12 and a bit. Ooh, I'm at 140, 141. But I remember the fuel efficiency on this bike being absolutely dismal. So the jerry can, I think, is a necessary insurance policy. And all right, we're at the BP that was closed when I first went out, and it remains closed. All right, one down. I was told what stations may or may not have fuel on that neighborhood app, so I'm gonna head over to those fuel stations that I don't normally visit just to see if the information is accurate. It's a curious thing because we have people who are desperately looking for fuel and some helpful people telling them where they were able to get fuel themselves. Then you get the troll. Stop giving advertisements to fuel stations and perpetuating this panic. Asking for polite advice is not perpetuating a panic. It's saying I'm going to save what fuel I have instead of driving around, creating congestion, sitting in lines for places that may or may not have fuel, and trying to most efficiently acquire fuel for their needs. But every single time someone makes a comment giving advice on where they were able to get fuel themselves, the same troll makes a comment. So it's an on-off checkerboard of community support versus asshole, singular asshole, making comments to the helpful people. It's the same cut of person that says that there is no problem to begin with. There was a line over there for fuel, but there's no line anymore. So either they don't have fuel, or they do have fuel. The lights are on. The lights are on, but there's no line. I'm going to try the station around the corner here and see what situation that is first. And if not, I'll go around that roundabout and see if there's fuel there. The trick is, too, the fuel we were able to get the other day in the truck, just out of luck, was E10 bullshit. So this shell remains closed. Still no fuel at this shell. So 2 for 2, ladies and gentlemen, and the same 2. Ooh, it looks promising over there. Well, anyway, the trick, what I was saying was, the trick about fueling the motorcycle is the motorcycle cannot take this new ethanol bullshit that they've managed to lobby the government to include in UK fuel stocks. The line used to go all the way up the road there and around the corner here, and there was some serious bullshit happening here. So either they don't have fuel or regular unleaded, regular diesel. You going there? You going there? You coming here? Come on. I know. He can go there? All right. I think you should move your car. Thanks.
I'm going to be here before you.
Yeah, appreciate it. E5. I know, right? It's just... It's funny, I forgot the difference between E5 and E10 while I was about to fill up there. It's really quite frustrating. No line. full tank, full jerry can, E5. Number 4, 11 pounds 50.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. No line. People are coming in. There seems to be some confusion about what's on what side. This guy thought I would be gone before him. Although there was no fuel issue, that was very stressful. All right, I got a full jerry can, I got a full tank of gas. I'm just gonna go check a couple of the other stations to see if things are actually improving around here. 2 stations didn't have fuel. 1 station did. The station that did had historically had a line down the street for a good mile or two, and there was no line today. There was still a couple of ordinary people who weren't taking advantage of open lanes, parking up at the wrong pump, wrong side of the pump. That gives me pause and makes me think that those are the people who don't normally fill up their cars. This was bumper to bumper traffic the other day, and traffic seems to be moving pretty fluidly here. This was all bumper to bumper traffic all the way back to the roundabout, where I just fueled up. I do hate filtering on the Street Cup because of these absurd bar end mirrors. Huh, interesting. No traffic up this next section of road. No traffic bleeding around the corner here. Either these stations are closed or demand has dwindled. This was all bumper to bumper traffic. And if you don't believe me, you can check out my first petrol crisis video. This was the road I rode up on my bicycle. I was a bit worried about the weight of 5 liters of petrol in my backpack for a long ride. And I was worried that it was going to rest on the seat cowl of the Street Cup here, but the weight is not burdensome and it's sitting nice and high on my back. So I think my fears about carrying extra petrol in a backpack, other than the inherent fears of spillage and catching on fire in the event of an accident, are somewhat swayed. So this fuel station, this was all packed. Cars around the corner, cars that had their engines turned off. Right up to this station, the lights are on, so they're advertising prices. However, this side has been closed off for queuing. Looks like they may have solved their queuing issue. Let's go around the corner here. I say they may have solved their queuing issue, but there's someone who's trying to turn in. And now you're blocking 2 lanes. About 5 cars, but still idiots who think they can create their own queues, run the queues. But it looked like 2 pumps were open there and a very short queue. With my current riding behavior, my estimated fuel range has dropped to 128 miles. even after I've topped up the tank. So not a huge range for 12 liters, and less than half of the range that I need. They say, the proverbial they say that things have improved around the country and that London remains the issue. London is improving, clearly, through the evidence acquired through this ride. My journey tomorrow is unavoidable, so I am taking my chances and going on faith that the situation outside of London has in fact improved and that I will not have an issue during my journey tomorrow. That remains to be seen. There's a saying in other parts of the UK, specifically Scotland and Wales, that you never pass a fuel station. It's kind of the old, you never pass a watering hole in the desert. I think England's sister nation's rule of thumb has now been expanded to include England herself. And we'll put that to the test tomorrow. So this is encouraging. This was traffic all the way down here, leading all the way back up to Ealing Broadway. Cars that were trying to go through here couldn't get through because the petrol station was backed up. This petrol station did a wonderful job the other day. All right, there's a sign here. All fuel, max 30 pounds. They have all fuel, no lines. I'm still full. But all fuel available here. All fuel available here. Max 30 pounds. So, fair enough. But they have all fuel and there's no lines. Very low demand. And the other day, these guys were doing a fantastic job. I'm going to go down the road a little further. See if that station in the shadow of the M4 has fuel. There's no traffic down here. We're coming up to this Esso on the end of the road, which did not have fuel, and they were closed for a good 4 days before I had stopped by. There's no prices. There's no prices being advertised. Sorry, we currently have no fuel. So this Esso, in the shadow of the M4, remains empty. Now it is said that this Shell on Church Street has fuel. We're going to see if that is in fact the case. No lines. People pulling up. No fuel there. No super unleaded. No super unleaded. No super unleaded. Super. Yeah. Can't put the swill in this thing. No super. So they have regular petrol and diesel, and there's no line, and the people are filling up. Good for them. And the prices have dropped a little bit. Pence or two per liter. This Esso was closed the other day. There was no fuel, and it was closed to all traffic. There's no line. There are empty pumps. Let's see if I can get around and get a closer look and see what kind of stock they have. The A4020, 4020. Looks like all pumps are open. And it looks like 35 pounds, all fuel available. 35 pounds, all fuel available. I'm still full. All right. Things are looking up. Haha. It's 36, 7 pence more expensive. 6 or 7 pence more expensive here than a mile that way. It takes just under 100 pounds to fill up my Land Rover from empty. And it takes about a tank and a quarter to get from London to Wales. So 35 pounds means you gotta go from station to station to limp your way north. It takes about 50 pounds to fill up the Mini, and the Mini can make it door to door with fuel to spare. So there's the argument for fuel efficiency. Being the pragmatist I am happy to report that London, while still dealing with some shortages at all of its stations, is definitely improving on this Thursday afternoon in terms of supply and wait times for fuel. Hooray! I hope none of the mainstream media reports that we are experiencing a shortage of eggs and avocados in West London. You can't get avocados anywhere, and eggs are definitely in shorter supply. But you didn't hear that here! If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.